Today we'll be talking about IFAKs, so individual first aid kits. I'll show you these three I have and explain what their purpose is and what the content is, and I'll talk about the pouches themselves a bit too. So before we deep dive into those respective IFAKs, I just want to point out the goal of an IFAK, or what role, what it's supposed to fulfill. So it should basically allow you to administer first aid to yourself or somebody else in order to reach a medical professional or buy time until the medical professional reaches you or the patient. So what could that be? Basically handling trauma injuries, so cuts, lacerations with, let's say, bandages, or in order to stop extreme bleeding, that could be applying a tourniquet. It's also, when it comes to firearms, it might also be a burn, so just providing first aid for serious burns. Also fractures and sprains, that is a thing that can happen too, so being able to help with that and make a patient mobile again. Wound cleaning, things like rescue breathing, so making sure the airways are free, or maybe even helping with breathing, and so on. So IFAKs are very based on the specific needs of the user or the intended application. We're going to handle more of a standpoint of firearm ownership and, let's say, more outdoorsy stuff. So now let's look at my IFAK. So the setup on my plate carrier is the following. Right in front I have a tourniquet, so with this little pouch I can just remove the tourniquet. It's a cat tourniquet because that's what I'm used to with training, so very essential to have readily available. I'm not a big fan of having it somewhere in the back because I like to sit down, conserve my energy, so my supplies are on the front right. So that works out very well for me. Be my guest to mount it wherever you want to. So that's the TK. So being able to stop a bleeding, very essential. I carry one TK on the plate carrier and one usually on my belt and or my, if I don't wear the belt, in my pants. So in a pouch. Okay, now let's peek inside of the IFAK. It opens up, folds, and first of all we have our trauma shears readily available. Pretty important. Some kind of permanent marker that can be good to actually label the IFAK or have some notes for the next person that will treat your patient, so you can write down any medication you have given and the problems you might have. And it's now kind of the layout I did in this IFAK is stopping bleeding is on this side, and anything with airways is on this side. So when it comes to stopping a patient bleeding, we have the tourniquet already, and if we pull on this tab here, we have Israeli bandage. Some plasters not very essential, but Israeli bandage very essential to have, and some compressed gauze. And on the left side, anything related to airways. So we have a NPA, so that's a tube to clear someone's airways or keep them open. Shove this in the nose, and some lube, very essential. And chest seal, so if you have any puncture wounds to, let's say, the chest or the neck, or maybe even if in the abdomen, this will come in handy. Now, some more stuff that can be very helpful in a context when you do shooting sports and or tactical use is some kind of burn or wound dressing. So if you have severe burning, that can really help you until you get proper treatment. And this is quite huge, takes up some space, but I think it's a good thing to have. And now we have the essentials already out. This is just some more accessories that can come in handy. Obviously, being able to wash out a wound can be very helpful. This is just disinfectant of wounds, basically. And some basic boo-boo supplies, some plasters, some cleansing wipes, and a rescue blanket. So this can also be good if you have somebody under shock and or having lost lots of blood and lying on the floor. That person will lose lots of energy and warmth, so having a safety blanket is very essential also in a tactical environment. Then the gloves, and in this little fancy can I just have some more painkillers that can be helpful as always. Fortunately, at least here in Switzerland, you're not really able to get serious painkillers because it's regulated, so ibuprofen is obviously available, but anything above that you can't just get as a civilian. So that's my IFAK. So this is what I have mounted to my battle belt, and this is to be considered a standalone option to stop serious bleeding, really first aid, very spec down, or as additional gear next to my IFAK on the plate carrier. So once again, QD, and if we peek inside, it's very, very straightforward. First of all, another tourniquet, so this is great to stop bleeding. And Israeli bandage, which has the outer shell already removed, just I don't want to waste more time, and this is perfectly sterile and waterproof in this condition anyways. So what else do we have in here? Some gloves, very essential, and some plasters. At least if you operate with AKs, you can get some cuts on the sharp edges, and you don't want that to ruin your range day. So that's all there is in this little pouch. Very, very stripped down, just the bare essentials to stop serious bleedings. And in combination with the big IFAK, this is a pretty good kit, which should cover, let's say, the most things you would encounter as a civilian. So this is my, what is commonly known as a boo-boo kit. This means it's not meant for serious tactical usage or anything. I just use it for outdoor purposes, long hikes, and so on. So let's peek inside. The first thing that you will see is this emergency or space blanket. And this is very good to have on you. So in the mountains, if it gets cold, this will try to keep you warm or just insulate you. And the good thing is it's very reflective and shiny, so you can be found very easily. So an essential thing to have in when you're outdoors. Next up, some trauma shears. These might come in handy if you have to use it on somebody else that can't be moved and you have to access certain parts of the body. So you can remove clothes, but in this context, if you're far out in the outdoors, you probably don't want to cut somebody's jacket up because he might still need it and he might be cold. So use with some common sense in mind. Then some gloves, always in handy. Obviously, you don't want to have blood of other people on your hands due to obvious reasons. And just to point out, this blue and green stuff was part of the kit, and all the other stuff I added, I just enriched it with my essentials. Then when we're talking about hiking, very important to have some kind of blister plasters. So these saved my ass before. Essential thing to have. And some basic pharmacy supplies. So some Advil against pain. Let's assume you sprained your ankle and you still have to go on. So this will be very helpful. Some water purification tablets and some other medicines against sickness and if you have stomach aches. So this is intended for travel usage too. Some safety pins, obviously if you use bandages, they might come in handy too. Then prominently a pamphlet. So this is in German, but it's just a rather old but still relevant pamphlet when it comes to first aid. So let's say I would know what to do in all those situations, but you never know who picks this first aid up. So if you passed out and somebody needs to use this thing, this might come in handy. And I like it. It's fairly simple and stress resistant. So it tells you, oh, somebody bleeding, you go here, and it has arrows and tells you what to do. So it's rather stress resistant, has pictures. So still relevant, good addition to have in some of those kits. Then some gauze swabs, some dressings, the essentials. I added some more compressed gauze. So this is for, let's say, a bit more serious stuff. And some tweezers. Those are good for obviously splinters, but also if you have ticks while you're hiking, you want to remove them as soon as possible. So tweezers, very essential. In this compartment that is a bit water protected, we got some bandages and very essential surgical tape. So this is very versatile and good to have for many scenarios. Some bigger bandages. And now you might think, oh, condoms, very funny. That's not only for, let's say, pleasure aspect if you're outdoors, but they're very versatile to have in your kit. So the point here is if you want to waterproof something, they can come in handy. If you need to transport water or more water and you don't have that many bottles or containers, you can use condoms too. Then, obviously very essential, plasters in different sizes. Waterproof plasters, good to have, so you don't want small cuts ruining your outdoor trip, obviously. Even more, so waterproof is also a good thing to have if you're outdoors, not only, let's say, the regular ones. And some cleansing wipes, so just if you have a cut, you can clean the wound a bit, make sure it doesn't get infected. So that's all there is to, let's say, a small boo-boo kit that will be used in hikings or the outdoors. So that's all there is for this video. I hope you guys were able to learn something or just refresh your knowledge on this topic. And I really do hope you'll never have to use anything of this. So, as always, stay safe and have fun.